All right, let's talk about a practice that can absolutely transform a classroom: co-planning. It's kind of the secret sauce, The thing that takes co-teaching from just okay to truly effective for every single student in the room. Let's dive in. Have you ever walked into a classroom and seen two amazing dedicated teachers, but something just feels off? Like one person is at the front running the show and the other is kind of floating around, maybe helping one or two kids. It's that feeling we're going to unpack and solve today. And this brings us to what you could call the co-teaching paradox. It's this strange reality where putting two professionals in a room doesn't automatically mean double the impact. In fact, if you don't have the right foundation, it can actually make things more confusing for students. And this really spells it out, doesn't it? On one side, you've got co-teaching by chance. It's all reactive, you're constantly putting out fires, and you fall right into that classic lead teacher assistant trap. But on the other side, that's co-teaching by design. It's proactive, it's intentional, and it's where you build a real co-expert partnership. That's the game changer. So the big question is, how do we get from chance to design? Well, you need a blueprint. Simple as that. You wouldn't build a house without a detailed plan, right? Co-teachers need that same kind of plan to build a powerful lesson. And that blueprint is co-planning. So what is co-planning, really? Think of it as the design level work. It's that protected, collaborative time that happens before any students walk into the room. It's when teachers get together to figure out, okay, what do our kids need? And then map out exactly how every single one of them is going to get there. And listen, the return on this investment of time is massive. The research is so clear on this. When you co-plan, language and content goals finally line up, way more students get access to the really meaty grade-level curriculum, teacher roles get crystal clear, and, my favorite part, students are way more engaged and they're talking more. It is a win-win-win. Oof, this quote, it really hits home, doesn't it? Performative. That means it just looks like co-teaching on the surface, but there's no real substance. It's just for show. The planning is what gives the whole thing its power. Without it, you're pretty much just going through the motions. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. If co-planning is our blueprint, what are we actually designing? What does this look like when the rubber meets the road? This requires a huge mindset shift. Most of the time, we're focused on the what content, what standard. Co-planning forces us to zoom in on the how. How is this student who is learning English going to understand this complex text? How are we going to structure this task for kids who need it? It's all about building those bridges to the content before you even start teaching. Now, here's a super simple but really powerful way to structure that whole conversation. It's just 4 steps. First, you reflect. Look at the data, what happened last week. Then you target. What's the key content and language goal? Third, you design the specific supports, the sentence starters, the graphic organizers. And last, you clarify roles. Who's doing what? This makes sure your planning time is spent on what actually matters, not just logistics. Okay, this all sounds pretty amazing, right? But I know what you're thinking. I know the question that's bubbling up because it's the elephant in the room anytime we talk about doing something new in schools. Yup, time. It's the one resource nobody ever has enough of. You can have the best intentions in the world, the best protocols, but if there's no actual time set aside to do the work, it just stays a nice idea. It never becomes a real practice. And this is exactly why this has to be a leadership imperative. It's not on teachers to magically find an extra hour in their day. No way. It is on school leaders to protect that time in the schedule, to provide the tools and protocols, and to build a culture where everyone knows this is a non-negotiable part of being a professional here. And that's the thing. This goes so much deeper than just adding another meeting to the weekly calendar. It's really about building a school-wide culture of collaboration from the ground up, where taking care of every single student is a shared responsibility. And look at the difference. The stakes are really high. Without co-planning, a student's success can feel like a lottery. It all depends on the luck of getting that one teacher. And that just leads to burnout and inequity. But when co-planning is baked into the system, well, success becomes something we design on purpose. Accountability is shared, and our classrooms become truly inclusive. And this, right here, is the heart of it all. Co-planning takes this huge, heavy responsibility of making sure every child has access, and it lifts it off the shoulders of one person and makes it a shared structural commitment for the entire school. That is equity in action. So I'll just leave you with this one question to chew on. In your school, is student success a carefully designed system, or is it a lottery? The blueprint is right here. Now it's up to us to start building.